Hi everyone, I'm Kent Louie, science teacher and talking head, talking about science education and broadcasting from beautiful Vancouver, Canada. This is episode 93, and today we're going to talk about swimming, science education, and how to get an A in standards-based grading. That's SBG for short. And in that order, handouts for this episode are available at realsciencechallenge.com/EP93. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, truth be known, giving letter grades and percentages goes against SBG, okay, which aims to assess mastery and growth of a child. But I understand that many schools, parents, and colleges still ask for letter grades and percentages. Even colleagues, my own colleagues, want to know what letter grade or percentage a student is getting so that they can tell parents and students. Now, one critique of SBG is that it's really hard for a student to get an A. Well, actually, it's not that much harder or different than achieving an A in traditional grading. All right, so what's an A in SBG? The answer? It's proficient on the proficiency scale. On a proficiency scale like this right here, proficient, is an A. All right, so consider the example of a child who's learning to swim at level 4 of the American Red Cross Learn to Swim program. So this swimmer over here is not at the beginner level, okay? But they're also not full-on lifeguard or swim club member, all right? So throughout this term, this swimmer is learning and practicing how to do these tasks at their level. Tasks like treading water using 2 different kicks, okay? Doing a front crawl for 25 yards, doing the butterfly for 15 yards, etc., okay? What would an A for this swimmer be? Okay? I would say that an A swimmer might look like this, okay? So every week, we're tracking the skills that this swimmer has mastered. Very early on, they've mastered only a couple of skills in week 1, but slowly they master more and more skills throughout the weeks. And by weeks 8, 9, and 10, they've really put everything together, okay? They've mastered all the skills and they've shown that they can do it over time consistently. Okay? They've shown, this swimmer has shown consistency and growth. Thus, they're proficient at each skill, and in my books, this is an A. Okay, however, okay, perhaps the student's progress doesn't look so rosy. Okay, so perhaps the student's progress looks more like this. Okay, so they've mastered only a few skills at the very beginning, and they're very slow at mastering skills week by week. Okay, but in the end, they've put everything together. Granted, in week 10, okay, but the idea is that they showed growth. They're not quite consistent because they have one stellar week. So in my books, this student is developing proficient. They're probably like a B plus student. They might be an A student in a few more weeks, but at least I know at this point in time which skills they need to work on, and I can communicate that to the student. So maybe they can work on this skill a little bit more, treading water, or maybe the butterfly. So when it comes to a proficiency scale in science, like for example, like this one, that goes from emerging, developing, proficient to extending, an A is proficient because proficient represents a complete understanding of concepts for that standard. And when a student is not proficient, at least I know which skill they need to work on. And that's important, okay, because not everyone is going to achieve an A, and that's okay. Sometimes skill and knowledge development, like in the case of swimming, right, or even science education, these all take time. And not every student will get to proficient, okay? But at least they know, and we know, what they can work on. Okay, one more thing I want to point out. Teachers who say it's hard to get an A in SBG may feel that an A must be extending. But I would argue that both proficient and extending represent A's. The difference is that an extending student is a student who has a high A. Okay, they've shown like sophisticated understanding, really deep understanding of a topic, whereas the proficient is that low A, that student who might study hard, do well on a test, but might just get one of those two hard questions out of box thinking wrong. Okay, so going back to like this example of the swimmer. Okay, extending does not mean that this student can suddenly do some lifeguard stuff or some swim club level stuff. That's not the point. Extending for this swimmer at this level may mean that this student can swim a little bit farther without getting tired because they've learned how to do their strokes more efficiently. In science education, it means that they've taken that same concept knowledge and they've been able to apply it in different areas with a deeper understanding. That is extending. That's a high A versus a low A. Okay? Consider one last example. How schools currently convert between letter grades and grade point averages. Even in this system, the 4.0 system, the 3.5 system, even then there's a high A, which starts at like 4.33. That's like an A plus, to a low A, like an A minus, which starts at 3.7. So there is a range for which an A exists. And so therefore, for standards-based grading, there is also a range. That range is between proficient and extending. Okay, what teachers need to do better in SBG is differentiate between proficient and extending, and then finding ways to distinguish this on a test. So going forward, what we can do is A, define what it means to be proficient, and B, define what it means to be extending. Okay, and let's be honest, proficient does not mean we water down the content. Okay, that's not what it is. Set high standards for proficient. For extending, set high standards, but not such high standards that it's unattainable. It still must be attainable. It can't depend on something that goes beyond what student capabilities are at that grade level. Okay, that's it for this episode. Please smash the like or subscribe button or leave a comment below. Handouts once again are realsciencechallenge.com/EP93. Thanks for watching. Let's talk science education again soon.